Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lords of the Night. With me, as always, is the Lord of Pennies, Satsu 2 cents.
What up, Del?
And not present like last time, for whatever reason. Or was it last time? Or at least recently. The Lord of Pain is not here. We assume he's still sleeping. Or he fell asleep. And if he is, I hope he's getting good rest. When he does show up, or if he shows up, I'm sure he'll be quite groggy. So everyone, give him some space to wake up and take his pills and all that good stuff. And for all of the apologetics, one of the first things out of his mouth will be, "I'm so sorry, guys." I can almost see it now. Hi.
Hello. I'm so sorry, guys. So sorry.
So, about 5 seconds before you appeared,
Yeah.
I said, yeah, when he shows up, he's going to sound groggy, guys, so give him some space. And I can almost see it now. The very first thing he's going to say is, "I'm so sorry, guys."
I'm not groggy at all.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
This is the other one.
okay.
But yes, I really am sorry.
It's all right. Yeah, the Lord of Pain, Ranting Monkey, here with us. I'm assuming overslept slightly.
No.
Oh.
I was upstairs and it just... I gave myself 10 minutes to make it downstairs, and this is how long it took.
All right. And before the stream, thank you, Dark Shade. Ear infection plus man flu equals kill me. I hope you feel good soon. That sucks.
That sounds horrible.
And we're having a Sinatra raid. The Sanoots. Hello, Sanoots. All of them. Yes, Sinatra, thank you. You sent them. Appreciate it. Let's see. Let's do the shout out here to everybody. Everybody see. Patrick Moser. Sinatra sent me. Swan 732. Sinatra sent me. Sir Quack. Wiley Sow. It sounds like a pig in heat or something. Sorry. Sinatrade says Random American. Lehigh Collier. Or Lehigh Collier. And Aiden666. I know there's other people that came in and said hi, but you guys are moving so fast. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you enjoy the show for as long as you decide to stay. So, how are you, Satsu?
Pretty good. Had a mostly chill day and did something a little out of the norm today, but we'll get into that later.
You bathed?
What you trying to say about black people, Scribe?
Oh, shit, son. Are you Chris Saliza? And Monkey, how are you?
I'm all right, dude. How you doing?
Well, compared to last night on the show, where everything was blowing up around me and I had to drop out, today was practically a breeze. Things got resolved, and things are purportedly going to be resolved for this evening. I reserve the right, however, to be surprised, because fuck knows my job likes to surprise me. So if I happen to get interrupted, I will not close down the stream like last time, but I may have to bow out. Fingers crossed it doesn't happen, but we shall see. I have to play it by ear. Other than that, Monkey Dick, Jim Jones, movies, video games. Hit that like button if you have not already, guys, and at least half of you haven't. And I know, a good portion of you are probably from the Sinatra land, so maybe you don't know about the like button, or maybe you don't have any reason to like this show yet. Hopefully we'll convince you otherwise in short order. And share our stuff. Please, please, please. If you like our content, please share it around. If you like anybody else's content on YouTube, any other creators that you enjoy, share it around. YouTube is doing very little to help smaller creators in that regard these days. And smaller creators, truth be told, goes anywhere from about 100,000 subscribers on downward these days. Because by the metrics of things, no offense, Sinatra, but 100,000 subscribers, while a great feat in my eyes, apparently YouTube doesn't really give a shit. But with all that said, anything else to mention or talk about before we get into the schnuzz?
No.
Nah, son.
All right. Well, per the title, an interesting story bubbled up today. I first saw it because the Democrats on Twitter retweeted it out as a point of injustice. But then there was an update as the day rolled on. I read one story about this that had some interesting facts. I'm wondering if the CNN version will include those facts, but let's find out. A U.S.-born citizen who was in immigration detention for 3 weeks has been released. A high school student who was born in Dallas and is a U.S. citizen was released from ICE custody on Tuesday after spending 3 weeks behind bars. Word spread of the teen's detention after the Dallas Morning News first reported it Monday. Immigrant rights activists pointed to the case as a sign that U.S. immigration authorities are going too far as they crack down on illegal immigration. U.S. Customs and Border Protection and Immigration and Customs Enforcement haven't responded to CNN's request for comment on the case. Claudia Galan, an attorney representing 18-year-old Francisco Galicia, if I'm saying that correctly, said Border Patrol officers retained his identity documents and she's not sure why. But he is relieved that the case is over, she said. How the incident unfolded. It all started when Galicia was on his way to a college soccer scouting event on June 27th. He was traveling with his 17-year-old brother Marlon and a group of friends from their hometown of Edinburgh to Houston when they came upon a CBP checkpoint in Falfurrias, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, about 100 miles north of the U.S.-Mexico border. Both brothers were detained, and Marlon, who does not have legal status in the U.S., was returned to Mexico. Galacias had his Texas state identification, a wallet-sized birth certificate, and his Social Security card. He also had a Mexican tourist visa with him that inaccurately lists his country of birth as Mexico, setting up a conflicting nationality claim, Galan said. Did you catch all that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, where did he get that tourist visa? I wonder if they'll tell us. Nevertheless, quote, despite his tourist visa, he was born here in the U.S., and he's a natural-born U.S. citizen, his lawyer said. It's not unusual for immigration officials to scrutinize citizenship claims, said Cesar Garcia Hernandez, an associate professor of law at the University of Denver, who is not affiliated with the case. The Mexican tourist visa may have caused officials to be skeptical of the legitimacy of his identification documents, including his birth certificate. But Galacia's case should have been easy to resolve by confirming his citizenship, Galan said. That he was detained for this long shows that Homeland Security is, quote-unquote, overwhelmed to the point of being unable to give each case the attention it needs, she said.
Now, how could that be?
Yeah, so was it overreach of ICE, or was it an overextension of resources, along with the fact that this guy had conflicting documentation? Now, what they don't mention there, and I'm curious to see if they do. Let me skip down real quick. No, they don't. Well, let me go to the other story that I read, the original one before the whole update, with some information that CNN did not provide. 1 second here while I find it, because God knows I have to find it myself. There we go. Unless they changed it on here. So, Dallas-born citizen. All right. So when they initially detained him and his brother, his younger brother, just by a year, who was also not in the country legally, I should add, he signed a voluntary deportation form. The younger brother did. Quote, I signed because I wanted to talk with my mom. Now we just have to wait and see and hope that they release my brother, Marlon said. This was before what happened earlier today. Let's see. Where'd it go? Let me find it here. Okay, Galan said, this is the lawyer, that the confusion from CBP may stem from the fact that San Juana, that's his mother, solicited a visitor's visa for Francisco when he was a minor and falsely claimed that he was born in Mexico. Now, the subject of the story is 18 years old, his brother's 17. He was a minor as soon as a year ago. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to find out if mom wasn't using older son to get a tourist visa to hand off to younger son who wasn't supposed to be here. And it just didn't pan out or something. It's just, I don't know. I don't understand why, if your son was born in Dallas, naturally born citizen, why you would go to the effort of getting him a tourist visa and lie and say he was born in Mexico. That doesn't track to me.
It doesn't at all, but they're not going to investigate or look into that or mention it because they're like, well, this could possibly go against the narrative, so we'll ignore that.
Yeah, but the activists say, oh, this is ICE overreaching and overreacting and yada, yada, yada. Whereas the lawyer's saying this shows that they are stretched to the limits on their resources. But also you have not just the subject, but also his mother participating in fraud.
Right.
I mean, even if there wasn't an overextension of of resources on the part of ICE or anybody else, the fact that you have two people involved. First off, you have a person who's a natural-born citizen of the United States transporting someone who is not supposed to be in the United States, who's just 100 miles away from the border, which is still within the zone where you can be detained and sent right back to Mexico if you're caught. But also, there's a history of fraudulent immigration documents, not only undertaken by the mother of both of these boys, but also, being used by one of the sons. So, if ICE was a little suspicious about the legitimacy of what everybody was telling them in this little trio, I wouldn't blame them, because now the whole thing comes into question as to, is this guy's documentation saying he's a citizen real? Why did he lie? Why did his mother lie for him? What's the deal with the younger brother?
Well, the CNN story I read about this earlier has an interesting part in it. The mother, she was an illegal.
Yes.
So she didn't put her name on his birth certificate.
Right.
She put a false name on there.
Yeah.
That's not just immigration. I mean, that's just fraud all around. How do you know that's actually him?
Yeah, and then for all of these reasons, it's like, oh, this is a big injustice. No, this is at least two grown adults at this point lying to federal authorities over the course of years, or we don't know. So I don't feel like anybody here is a victim, is what I'm saying.
Well, they're making it sound like it would be so easy to just check his birth certificate. Well, they did. That just brought up more questions.
Yeah.
Who's your mom? Was her? Well, that's not what it says on your birth certificate. Where's your real mom?
Right.
I mean, we just had the story. Was that yesterday? Day before?
Yeah, the DNA.
Yeah, the DNA thing down at the border. I mean, yeah, it sucks if this guy was actually born here, is a citizen, he got there for 3 weeks, but that's not ICE's fault. That's your mammy's fault.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, the way this has been putting out there, the way the Democrats as soon as the Democrats post this story on Twitter, I always get suspicious when it's like, oh, this person's been a victim and da-da-da. I was like, well, it's entirely possible that somebody that was a complete citizen has been caught up in the system and shouldn't have been. And then, of course, you go down 5 paragraphs, you go like, wait a second. But, of course, they bury all of that stuff down below the fold, and all you've got is this headline. It's just a U.S.-born citizen who was in immigration detention for 3 weeks has been released. Yeah, well, I guess he was after they looked into it, maybe. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that one up because those I know it sounds cliche at this point, but the whole Gamergate saga made me so suspicious of any headline that sounds like a open and shut case on somebody or something. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes it's like the headlines don't lie, but especially from CNN or these other places or entities that I know have an agenda on keeping a narrative. Whenever they say something that sounds a bit too pat, a bit too fitting the narrative, I always go, let me read the article.
Yeah, and it's extra annoying too because this is one of those stories that's like, yeah, it won't 100% go into the Democrats' favor and show some horrible conspiracy about ICE, but it still highlights a problem that needs to be addressed.
Yes.
And if people were just fucking honest about it, like these conversations and these things would be so much easier to deal with. But no, everything is fucking sensationalized bullshit. You can't trust nothing no more. It's irritating.
And who's been actively trying to deny funding going to the
fucking Democrats.
the entities that needed to process people like that end up in this situation more quickly. Yeah, exactly.
And I told you, like I said, this may be my own little conspiracy theory, but they want it that way. They know it's terrible, and they need to keep it that way. Just the same thing with women and fucking feminism. They need feminism, or they need fucking sexism and all that shit to remain. People of color need racism, these things, because they use it just like the other people did.
You know what? And I know this is going a bit slightly, and I'll get to other news here in a second. What Satsu just reminded me of the. I don't know if it's been proven, but I think it's relatively well suspected, the whole Iranian hostage deal before Reagan's election, that there was supposedly secret negotiations that went on to prevent the Iranian hostages from being released until after Reagan was elected, to put a bad spin on Jimmy Carter's efforts as president for re-election. What Satsu just said kind of reminds me that we have to keep this situation bad to use as a talking point, and then we'll solve it all of a sudden if we get elected, kind of thing.
Yeah, man. And it like I said, it sounds like a conspiracy, like, oh, you're crazy. No, but people do that shit, man.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, speaking of presidential candidates, we have some infighting, if you can believe that, before the debates next week. Tulsi Gabbard slams Kamala Harris as not qualified to serve as commander-in-chief. She wasn't mincing any words.
Oh, because she was black.
Well, I don't know if that was her argument. That's going to be quite.
You know what? That's what it's going to say. It doesn't matter if that was her argument or not. That's the only reason it could be.
Democratic Hawaii Representative Tulsi Gabbard on Tuesday took aim at presidential primary rival Senator Kamala Harris, arguing the California Democrat, quote, lacks the temperament, unquote, to be commander-in-chief.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, temperament. Wasn't that one of the talking points against Trump during the 2016?
That was, but she's a black woman now, and they already have a stigma of being ill-tempered. You know how that goes. So this is...
boy.
Here we go.
Let's see. Quote, Kamala Harris is not qualified to serve as commander-in-chief, and I can say this from a personal perspective as a soldier, Gabbard said on Fox Sports Radio. Well, there's a platform for this. Quote, she has no background or experience in foreign policy, and she lacks the temperament that is necessary for commander-in-chief, unquote. Harris has been the subject of increased attention after she made steep polling gains for confronting Democratic frontrunner former Vice President Joe Biden during the first round of presidential debates. Gabbard and Harris will share the debate stage during the second night of CNN's Democratic primary debates on July 31st. Lily Adams, communications director for the Harris campaign, offered a terse response to Gabbard's comments on Tuesday. Quote, definite hard pass on taking national security advice from Assad's cheerleader, unquote, she said, drawing on Gabbard's controversial meeting with Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad in 2017. Assad's cheerleader. Hadn't heard that one before.
She met with him, so now she's his cheerleader? Like what?
I don't know what her opinion is on Assad, but 1 second. Thank you, Sanguine. Stories like this one really make me wish that we would end birthright citizenship and go to a system of if you are the get of a citizen, then you are a citizen. Good luck on that one. It's been, sort of like traditionally inherited law, but I don't think it actually says. Well, natural born citizen, I think, has been debated as to its definition more than a lot of other things. So that's a whole other subject. Let's see. What else did Tulsi have to say? Gabbard said Tuesday that Harris's lack of military experience would continue a, quote, dangerous, unquote, cycle that would exacerbate the U.S., quote, military-industrial complex, unquote. Quote, I have seen the cost of war firsthand and experienced the consequences of what happens when we have presidents from both political parties in the White House who lack experience and lack that foreign policy understanding, she said. Quote, who therefore fall under the influence of the foreign policy establishments and military-industrial complex. This is what is so dangerous and what we've seen over time, she added. But while Gabbard has attempted to let her service in the National Guard guide her White House bid, her campaign has largely been marked by low poll numbers and controversy surrounding her past views on gay marriage and LGBTQ equality. A CNN poll released earlier this month found Gabbard holds just 1% support. Yeah. So, thank you, Gulf City. Cult of Krill. Nancy Pelosi met with Assad during the Bush administration. What does that make her? Yeah, we've, as a country, our representatives or otherwise, we've all met with horrible, horrible people. Horrible, horrible people. Trump meeting with Kim Jong-un. Horrible, horrible person. I don't necessarily hold people to account for that in the same way that others might, because it's like, well, sometimes when you sup with the devil, you use a long spoon, and you don't have a choice sometimes. The leader of a country is often the leader of a country, and pragmatism sometimes comes before compassion, if you know what I mean. Depends on the circumstances, of course, but is what it is. So I have no idea what Tulsi Gabbard's opinion is on Bashar al-Assad. So anyway, that's happening, and we got a week before the next set of debates, so that'll be interesting if they're on this debate stage together.
Should be fun.
Sorry, taking a drink there. Let's see what else we got. Oh, here we go. How about some Trump news? You like Trump news?
Sure.
Well, that sounded enthusiastic.
It was.
Trump sues to prevent the release of his tax returns. Are we even surprised? President Donald Trump has filed suit in federal court in Washington, D.C. against the House Ways and Means Committee, the New York State Attorney General, and the New York Tax Commissioner to prevent the disclosure of his tax returns. Trump seeks a series of injunctions and restraining orders from the court. Quote, "We have filed a lawsuit today in our ongoing efforts to end presidential harassment," said Jay Sekulow, an attorney representing the president, in a statement. Quote, "The targeting of the president by the House Ways and Means Committee, the New York Attorney General, and New York tax official violates Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution." Does it? Okay. Quote, "The harassment tactics lack a legitimate legislative purpose. The actions taken by the House and New York officials are nothing more than political retribution." Article 1? I would have thought, wait. Maybe my brain is missing something. I guess I'd have to look up Article 1 and remind myself how that applies to taxes. As I type and there's silence in the background. All legislative, Constitution, okay. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. Okay. Oh, okay. Maybe it's one of the other sections. I guess I'd have to know what section of Article 1 he's talking about, because I was like, ooh, maybe I'm missing something. Anyway, I would have thought he'd cite something like the Fourth Amendment about privacy and your papers, etc. effects. But what do I know? Are you still with us, Monkey? No, you're not. You're muted. Okay. I was wondering. I was like, gosh, it's quiet. Yeah, I mean, not much more to say. He's been trying to prevent his tax returns from coming out forever. There's that obscure rule in the Ways and Means that says they can request or attain the tax returns of any citizen. I forget exactly what the conditions are, but they're trying to invoke it. I'm not sure this is going to be resolved before Trump's out of office, because things like this can probably get tied up in the courts for a long time.
Yeah. You got to give them points for fucking dedication, man. They don't let anything go. I mean, and I guess I don't blame them. They're trying to win a game here. So,
Prospero says it's a separation of powers argument. Scribe light. Okay, I could see how they could make that argument. It'll be interesting to see, because the whole presidential candidates releasing their tax returns isn't a law. It was a sort of gesture. It's a tradition that's been honored by most presidential candidates for, I think, since going back to Nixon or something. But everybody's all losing their shit over the last couple of years. He didn't release his tax returns, and he still won the presidency. Somehow, apparently, the voters didn't care. So what's that? And we've talked before, it'd be funny if he's been fighting against having them released all this time, but he knows they hold nothing interesting.
Yeah,
and just making them waste their time. But anyway, what else we got? So tomorrow morning-ish, I think, is the beginning of the Mueller testimony. And I've heard interesting theories on both sides of the quote unquote aisle about what the utility of or dangers are in grilling Mueller. That he doesn't take kindly to being yelled at or talking down to. He clams up, that he's not going to waver on what he said before. And somebody else pointed out to me, and I wish I'd thought about this last night, the whole DOJ letter that said, "Thou shalt not go outside the bounds of the report that you released," probably more forcefully refers to that information in the report that is still redacted. That that they're telling him, don't talk about anything that wasn't in the publicly issued report, because there's still information in there that is either grand jury material or falls under whatever executive privilege. I'm not sure how much or if any of it was actually redacted because of executive privilege, but that was also probably part of the argument.
Yeah, I forgot about the that they still haven't given out like the fully unredacted version.
Yeah, and I wish I'd remember that last night, because I was like, stay within the bounds. But yeah, that's what they've been drilling for the whole time, is to have the full report released. And
that, you think this is an attempt for them to get him to slip and release redacted information?
Well, that's it. I mean, like we said last night, first and foremost, they want him to say on record that he would prosecute the president if he weren't the president. Something to that effect. They want him to affirm the conclusion that he would not make in the report, because he specifically said, draw no conclusions as to whether or not obstruction occurred, etc. They want him to, on the record, say obstruction of justice occurred, so they can use that as fuel for an impeachment proceeding. Right. As well, if there is some element of the report that's been redacted that they think would be juicy information to have released, they'll, dance around trying to get him to say something about it. So yeah, on the one side, the Democrats are going to try to get him to confess to a conclusion he didn't want to give and probably still doesn't want to give. And the Republicans are going to try to drill him on admitting that it was a witch hunt and it was unjustified and unfair. I have a feeling it's going to be a lot more nothing than it's going to be something, but yeah, crazier things have happened. But that takes me to the story, is that Mueller has made a last-minute request and asked to swear in a deputy of his for the hearing. Special counsel Robert Mueller's deputy, Aaron Zebley, is expected to appear next to the special counsel as his counsel, at Wednesday's hearing on the special counsel's report, according to a House Judiciary Committee source. Zebley will be there to advise Mueller, but the special counsel will be the only one answering the committee questions, the source said. Democrats only plan to swear in Mueller as a witness. Mueller made the last-minute request to have his deputy sworn in for Wednesday's blockbuster hearings. Blockbuster hearings? They haven't happened yet, and I don't know if you can have lineups around the block at the Capitol. But anyway, before the Judiciary and Intelligence Committees on the Mueller report, in case he needed to help with any questions the special counsel could not fully answer himself, according to a source familiar with the matter. So this guy's like his backup flash memory drive or something?
Yeah, he's a walking fucking flashcard.
Yeah. Let's see. Quote, Aaron Zebley was the deputy special counsel and had day-to-day oversight of the investigations conducted by the office. He will accompany special counsel Mueller to the Wednesday hearings, as was discussed with the committees more than a week ago. Let's see. The prospect that Mueller's deputy could appear alongside the special counsel is a last-minute twist in one of the most highly anticipated hearings in years. Since the last hearings, like, what was the last highly anticipated? Was it Kavanaugh? Something like that. Even if Zebley was there just as a counsel to aid Mueller, it could still change the dynamic of Mueller's testimony Wednesday before the committees. The Justice Department objected to Zebley or any others testifying alongside Mueller because it wasn't authorized, according to a person familiar with the matter. The department's practice generally precludes line attorneys from testifying. I wonder then, if Zebley was sort of running the day-to-day stuff and everything else, did Mueller have as much of a hand in it as we think or something.
Sorry about that, guys.
You okay?
I will be.
Okay. Everybody out there, if you happen to have a spare spine you could donate to Monkey, let us know. He needs a new one, amongst other things. Well, anyway, that's all the stories that I had pulled up. Did you guys know of anything offhand that I didn't get to?
Nope.
I didn't hear all the ones you got to. Did you get to Boris Johnson?
No, I didn't. I was pretty sure that MSS News would have that in there too.
Oh, okay.
Yep. If not, we can get to it too. And now, okay, moment of truth, guys. My phone's beeping at me. Am I staying or am I having to go? Survey says I am staying, thank goodness. All right, moving on. We're going on to MSS News. So, guys, if you have news stories you'd like us to read on the air, please send them to us via Twitter using the hashtag MSS News. And we will get to as many as we can in the time allotted or as our babbling will allow us to cover. So let's see. First up. Oh, I don't. Okay. I will read a little bit of this story, but we here at Lords of the Night, generally speaking, don't like talking about stories that involve the harming of children or animals and stuff like that. But I'll at least mention this one. Desert Tramp sends us this one. Graphic video shows father beating young daughter for being sexually active.
There's nothing I like about that story.
Yeah. Let's see. A man identifying himself as Sage on Twitter shared a graphic video on Tuesday afternoon showing a man beating his daughter for being sexually active. There's not really a story here. It's just a video link for the. Well, I mean, it's got some information on it, and a bunch of people's comments on it. I don't. It doesn't say here where it took place, who it is. I really hope whoever this is gets caught, and yeah. Apparently, the girl is 12 years old.
Oof.
Okay, well, it's got plenty of attention from plenty of people, so hopefully whatever the fuck's going on, this guy's going to be grabbed at some point. Anyway.
Yeah, that's not an unusual story where I come from.
Yeah, I guess not, but all the same. Let's see. This one comes from Quinn Harrison.
Excuse me.
From AOL. I didn't even know AOL was still around. North Carolina bathroom bill settlement approved. Oh, good. Transgender people in North Carolina can use any public restroom in state-run buildings that conforms with their gender identity under a U.S. court settlement approved on Tuesday in the latest turn of a long-running dispute that divided the state. The settlement, which overturns part of a state law, ends a 3-year legal fight by transgender people in North Carolina seeking the right to use the bathroom of their gender identity. A 2016 North Carolina law known as House Bill 2 required transgender people in state-run buildings to use the bathrooms, changing rooms, and showers that corresponded to the sex on their birth certificates. The American Civil Liberties Union represented transgender plaintiffs seeking to block the law in court, arguing it violated their rights to equal protection and privacy under the U.S. Constitution. Quote, while this part of the court fight may be ending, so much urgent work remains as long as people who are LGBTQ are denied basic protections from violence and discrimination simply because of who they are.
Is this insinuating that for some reason they will be definitively more protected if they are able to use whatever bathroom they want, as if nothing bad can happen to them as long as that's available? Because I don't think that's true.
Lining up with testicles person and the stories that are coming out about Jessica Yesev or whatever you say. Whatever her name is.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, Blair White did a video today breaking down a whole bunch of stuff and photographs and things that I didn't know about. And I was like, she's like, yeah, this person represents all the nightmare fuel that people who are totally against transgender rights are talking about.
Oh yeah. Oh, I've seen those screenshots of the conversations and stuff.
Well, the conversations, not only that, but photographs of this person taking photographs of themselves inside women's bathrooms with girls and women in the background. Like, okay. Now, obviously, one bad apple, etc., but doesn't help anything when you got people that are doing that and apparently being defended by Twitter by having their critics banned, like Lindsay Shepherd. So that's a whole other story, guys. We might get to that. Yeah, Sinatra did a video on it, guys. So did Blair White. Go check out those videos. I haven't watched Sinatra's yet. I think he released it before I had a chance to watch it today. Moving on. Let's see. Okay, this one comes from Janus, as in Janus, or Janus, I suppose. Tech firms can and must put backdoors in encryption, AG Barr says. That kind of defeats the purpose of encryption, because having a backdoor means you have something other than the singular front door decryption. So, okay. U.S. Attorney General William Barr today launched a new front in the Fed's ongoing fight against consumer encryption, railing against the common security practice and lamenting the quote-unquote victims in its wake. Okay, quote, the deployment of warrant-proof encryption is already imposing huge costs on society, Barr claimed in remarks at a cybersecurity conference held at Fordham University Tuesday morning. Barr added that encryption, quote, seriously degrades, unquote, law enforcement's ability to, quote, detect and prevent a crime before it occurs, unquote, as well as making eventual investigation and prosecution of crime more difficult. The existence of encryption means, quote, converting the internet and communications into a law-free zone, unquote, that criminals will happily take advantage of to do more crimes, Barr added, likening it to a neighborhood that local cops have abandoned. Okay, he also accused tech firms of dogmatic posturing, saying lawful backdoor access, unquote, can be and must be done, adding, quote, we are confident that there are technical solutions that will allow lawful access to encrypted data and communications by law enforcement without materially weakening the security provided by encryption, unquote. Okay, so we were talking, or I mentioned before, like the Fourth Amendment. If I take a conscious action to encrypt my personal files, should the government have a passive way into my information at their whim?
No.
And I think that is basically, I mean, again, I'm not a constitutional lawyer. I don't have a law degree, but I have watched a lot of Law and Order. And so I'd say that is the hurdle that Barr would have to jump with the Supreme Court if he were to somehow try to make it law that all encryption had to have a government-approved way in by default. So good luck with that. It's one of those situations where it's like, well, it's freedom can be a dangerous thing to those that want to abuse it, but that's been the case since forever. Encryption is just one more extension of that. So I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I wouldn't be happy if any attorney general said, the government should or law enforcement should have a way into anyone's phone, no matter who they are, no matter what the circumstances, at any time, period. I mean, if that can you imagine if that back door got hacked?
Oh yeah.
I mean, if some unruly criminal enterprise got the code that allows the skeleton key to everyone's information, and given how long it takes technology firms to let the public know when there's been a breach of their information, if someone had carte blanche to access all encryption across the board through law enforcement access, or some disgruntled law enforcement person walked out of the office with it one day, no.
You know what happened?
What?
the government would then sue that company for not protecting data.
Yeah. I'm thinking of like if Sneakers, if the bad guys got the decryption thing in Sneakers,
Uh-huh.
you know, which is still a great movie. If you guys haven't seen Sneakers, Monkey and I did a review of it, a year and a half ago now, whatever. Even though the technology depicted in that is decidedly out of date, and a world without cell phones and such, a lot of the themes and moral questions and everything else about information access are still as relevant today as they were back then. Let's see. Moving on from that. Is that a Florida man? No, it's a German man. Oh, there's a hot girl. I'll take this one. This one comes from Massive Dynamics, and it's got pictures of a pretty girl. I'm sure there's nothing strange about this story. Breatharian claims she lives on oxygen and fasts for 97 days.
Mm-hmm.
Well, whatever she's doing, she's keeping in good shape, although she's got some thick thighs and a skinny top side. But either way, a woman has revealed that she is on a diet that consists of taking energy from nature and not eating any solids. Audra Bear identifies as a breatharian and claims she fasts for up to 97 days because food gets in the way of her enjoyment of life.
Bullshit.
Despite the dangers and lack of any scientific backing whatsoever that it works, Audra, 25, insists it is good for her. She has tried various diets over the years, including being a vegan, then a raw vegan for 4 years before taking on so-called pranic living and breatharianism. Pranic living is said to involve living through the energy that you breathe in and absorb from the nature around you. Some have suggested the diet is a dangerous hoax. No. The NHS would class Audra's eating habits as a very low-calorie diet, but would recommend it be clinically supervised by a medical professional. Yeah, you think? So I'm going to put the link in the chat. You can see this person who hasn't eaten in 3 months. Obviously, she hasn't eaten a thing in 3 months. She looks like somebody that hasn't eaten in 3 months, especially those thighs. But anyway. Now, the lower picture, the one down below where she's in the leopard bikini, that I could believe is the result of starving yourself. Certainly. But she hasn't gotten quite to... what was that girl that everybody was freaked out about, who was way like skeleton skinny?
Eugenia Cooney or whatever.
Yeah, Eugenia Cooney. Yeah, she's not quite there yet, but yeah, that lower picture, she's on her way. Anyway, I hope she eats a sandwich or something soon. Thank you, Sir Wolfgang, because being vegan wasn't hardcore enough. Hey, if you're not going to go all the way, there's no reason to go at all. Oh boy, is this... Okay, this is from Senior Staff Reporter and Chief Florida Correspondent Colleen Bernier. Okay, can you... Okay, just this is a... I've said this before, maybe this will give it away. Can you imagine the high-level subject matter of this story out of Florida?
Oh, God.
What do we see a lot of lately out of Florida?
Food fights.
There you go. Vandal threw pickles, damaged musical instruments at Indian River County School. Indian River County deputies say a vandal targeted a school and left a mess of food and damage behind. According to the sheriff's office, a worker arrived at Indian River Academy, located at 520, blah, 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 and found the school had been vandalized. Someone had taken pickles out of a jar in the front office and threw them against computer screens. The vandal also put pickles on 2 chairs in the office. From there, hold on, it gets better. From there, the criminal smashed coffee creamers on the floor of the teacher's lounge and put around 20 creamers in the microwave and more creamers on the copier machines. The vandal also broke 2 ukuleles in the music room, damaged a tribal drum, then dumped a bucket of water over some computers. Deputies said there was no signs of forced entry, and the total cost of the damage is $200. Well, those are some cheap computers. Tell you what.
Oh, well, they had to wash the screen.
Oh, there you go. Unless they, well, I mean, if you dump water into the towers or something, that'd fuck them up.
Well, school PCs are really cheap. Most of the times, buy them in bulk, and you can get like 8 of them for like $200.
Yeah, sometimes they're just donated.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, here's another story about I don't want. Okay, it's a story about a dead kid and a dead baby. Sorry, I don't want to. Sorry, angry Illinoisian. I know. It's not that it's not a thing that didn't happen. It's just there are some things that downer me too much. I prefer not to talk about. Let's see. We talked about Mueller. We talked about the 18-year-old released from ICE detention. Thank you, Mercy of Wits. Peter Stewart sent us the dead baby story again. Okay, I'll just read the caption because several people have sent this to us. A Georgia woman is accused of dropping and fatally injuring her 3-month-old baby during an altercation with another woman. And apparently there's video of this. That kind of reminds me of that story where we had the pregnant lady who got shot during an altercation and then was charged with the death of her unborn child.
Right.
Even though that was a completely different circumstance, I can't help but think of that too. Okay, I'll read this one from Peter Stewart. Hopefully does not involve the death of a child. Halifax firefighters smash windows and run hose through vehicle to access hydrant. This is why you don't park in front of fire hydrants, people, just so you know.
Yep.
An incident in Halifax is raising eyebrows. Is it really? After firefighters smashed the windows of a vehicle in order to access a fire hydrant while battling a blaze in the city's south end. Firefighters were called to a structure fire at a commercial building at around 5 p.m. Excuse me. When firefighters arrived, a vehicle was blocking the fire hydrant directly in front of the building, so crews broke the back windows of the vehicle and ran their hose right through it. While many people are criticizing the motorist's decision to park in front of the fire hydrant, others are questioning whether the firefighters could have run the hose around or under the vehicle rather than through it. No, because that risks the hose getting kinked or otherwise damaged, and they're not going to do it. Like, what if the guy had come along to get into his car and backed over the hose? Or anything else that might have happened that might have put the building and other people's lives at risk. No, this is why you don't park in front of a fire hydrant. Firefighters need access to that thing free and clear. So whoever's complaining about that, fuck off.
I'm with you on that. I can't believe anybody is complaining about that, except for the car owner. I could see them being a dick about it, but
well, yeah,
parked in there.
Yeah, I don't live in Canada, but I'll bet it's probably law that you're not supposed to park in front of a fire hydrant, or at least it's a ticketable offense. Let's say. Anyway, moving from that, let's see, Jack Cochran. Oh, which one do I want to do from Jack? Let's do this one. This one comes from senior staff reporter and chief, I don't know, bullshit correspondent, Jack the motherfucking Cochran. I don't know. We never quite gave him like a specialty. He was he's just a senior staff reporter.
He was the first senior staff reporter, yeah.
I think it was a tie between him and Colleen Bernier, because Colleen really, I mean, the two of them were the most consistent story submitters, but Colleen really went above and beyond with the Florida stuff at the time.
No, the chief correspondent, the senior staff reporter was him first.
Yes, but what I mean is he didn't have a specialty.
No, Jack's a jack of all trades.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll try to remember that for next time. Let's see. Another story from Canada. Canadian police accidentally live stream a double homicide press conference using cat filter.
Yep, they did.
Oh, I saw the photo of this. I didn't have any context. I thought it was okay. Oh my God. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police inadvertently streamed a press conference regarding a double homicide using a filter that added cat ears and whiskers to a police officer on Friday. Oh my God. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police of British Columbia later clarified that the press conference, which concerned the killing of an American woman and her Australian boyfriend, was accidentally streamed using an automatic Facebook Live setting. Sergeant Janelle Shoyet, re-recorded the press conference without the filter, apologizing for the error. Quote, "We are aware and addressing it as it's an automatic setting. Thank you. We will rectify and issue a video shortly." Yeah, well, the picture's already out there. It's innocent mistake, kind of funny. The subject matter is not. Actually, they think they've identified the people that killed those two people, and they're on the run right now. A couple of teenagers, apparently, that decided to kill them, which is, ugh. Okay, well, this one deals with an injured child. I'm hoping she's okay. I will read it. This one comes from Johnny Hellcat. We'll do one or two more, and then we'll move on. Oh, am I not going to be reading this because I don't allow ads? Okay, one second. Ads. Okay, video. Bison charges, tosses 9-year-old girl in Yellowstone Park. When they tell you to keep away from the animals, stay away from the animals. A bison charged a 9-year-old girl in Yellowstone National Park Monday, catching her and tossing her into the air. On the afternoon of July 22nd, there was an incident with a bull bison near Observation Point Trail in the Old Faithful Geyser area. According to witnesses, a group of approximately 50 people were within 5 to 10 feet of the bison for at least 20 minutes before eventually causing the bison to charge the group. The girl was taken to the Old Faithful Lodge by her family, where she was assessed and treated by a park emergency medical provider, and later taken and released from the Old Faithful Clinic. No citations have been issued. The incident is still under investigation. Yeah, well, they tell you to stay away from the animals. So stay away from the animals. Didn't we just have a story similar to this a few weeks ago where a guy got like plowed over by a bison or by a water buffalo or something? Similarly, either in Yellowstone or some other park.
I can't remember how recently, but I remember a story similar. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They are wild animals, guys. They're not pets. Just so you know.
They're so cute.
But they're so fluffy. Oh my God. Let's see. Do I have anybody talking about old Boris Johnson? Let's get Boris in here. Well, no, actually, nobody apparently posted a story about Boris Johnson. So we'll end off with a story about Boris Johnson. Okay. No, that's a live blog. Here we go. Boris Johnson, new prime minister to form government after taking office. Boris Johnson will begin the process of forming his government later after he succeeds Theresa May as prime minister. The new Conservative leader will take office on Wednesday afternoon following an audience with the Queen at Buckingham Palace. After entering Downing Street, he is expected to announce a clutch of senior cabinet posts, including Chancellor of the Exchequer and Home Secretary. Sources close to Mr. Johnson say his top team will reflect, quote, modern Britain, unquote. Don't know what that means. He is expected to use the opportunity to increase the number of women in full cabinet positions and boost the representation of ethnic minorities. Mr. Johnson won a decisive victory over Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt in a ballot of Tory members, gaining a 66.4% share of the total vote. Conversations are said to be ongoing between Mr. Hunt and Mr. Johnson about the Foreign Secretary's next role. After his victory, Mr. Johnson said his priorities were to deliver Brexit, unite the country, and defeat Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn. Good luck, I guess? I don't know. I guess I need more input from a Brit on the whole situation.
I read quite a bit about him today, both positive and negative, depending on where you look. To some people, he's their Donald Trump. To other people, he's just a clown, and to still others, he's the guy that's going to save them. So we'll see. Yeah, I saw a lot of the Trump comparisons today. A lot of those.
Yeah, I'm curious if he'll actually be able to. Which kind of Brexit is he planning on doing? Wasn't he a Leave originally?
Oh yeah, he's a Leaver, and he's either we get a deal or we go ahead. He said it will happen on October 1st or 31st, whichever it is, no matter what.
All right.
You know what, though? The Trump comparison might not be a bad one because look how many women Trump has in his cabinet.
Fair.
Mm-hmm.
Also, for all of you who have taken part on Sinatra's poll regarding who was the best Bond, if you didn't vote for George Lazenby, you're wrong. That's all I got to say.
Thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, I just thought I'd mention Lazenby is best Bond. Why is Lazenby best Bond? Well, I'm glad you asked. He only did the one movie, so he had no chance for his style to become stale. And while I love Connery in the early movies, he win a few more movies than he probably should have. Same goes for Roger Moore, even though View to a Kill is probably one of my favorite Bond movies just because it's so corny, and it's one of the first ones that I really watched as a kid. And I did like GoldenEye, but George Lazenby didn't have a chance to go bad or sour or do a bad movie. Plus, George Lazenby had, in his movie, Telly Savalas. Also, Diana Rigg was his wife, who is the hottest of the pair from the original Avengers. Also, wife got killed, and Bond actually had to deal with her death, which is a rarity. And I know that they did that or are planning on doing that again, Daniel Craig or something, but that's beside the point. And also, Lazenby wore a kilt. And I believe, if I remember correctly, the original fictions Bond was like Scottish. So there you go. Thank you, Chicago Mike. My favorite Bond was David Niven. Hey, the original Casino Royale. David Niven had his charm, but I got to tell you, a younger, slightly more active Bond than the thin, though very cultivated Niven. I always appreciated the more action-oriented Bond. Maybe that's just me. Anyway, any more stories, or shall we move on to YouTube time?
We can go to YouTube
I have no
too.
stories.
Okay. Well, guys, thank you so much for all the stories. Sorry to get to them all, but, I tend to go on at times. So YouTube time. I'll go first because I don't have much to say. I didn't have a chance to do anything today because I was doing triage on all the craziness that happened with work last night. I did find in my, copious amounts of downtime, so to speak, a couple of interesting videos, especially one where Kirsten Gillibrand is speaking to the black voting bloc of the country in an interview. Had some interesting things to say there. I don't know if I'll do a video on it, but maybe I'll have something to say. Other than that, yeah, I think. Oh, there was a TEDx talk, or was it a TED talk, where the guy comes out to talk about the dangers of black male toxic privilege or something. Specifically, black male toxic masculinity or something. And I was just like, oh, I didn't know that there was a subset now. I didn't get to listen to much before I had to do some work stuff, but I'm looking at that. Yeah. So, Satsu, what have you been up to? Oh, sorry. Thank you, Professor Chaos. Let me make sure I didn't miss other things. Yeah, Professor Chaos, thank you. I tried to send a few super chats while watching on my business trip to Mexico for a new job, but YouTube, I'm assuming, said wouldn't let me, so here you go. Well, thank you, Professor Chaos. Appreciate it. Business trip to Mexico for a new job. You got to go to Mexico? I hear it's pretty hot down there right now. Hope you didn't melt. So anyway, sorry, Satsu.
Well, I, shockingly enough, recorded a video for Satsu 2 Cents today. I'm going to upload it tomorrow, and it's also, shockingly enough, about Marvel. Weirdly, I don't know what inspired me to do a video about Marvel, but I've been getting in a lot of conversations with people about it, and yeah, you guys can expect a video on my main channel.
Sorry, Dark Shade, I missed it because the $2 ones have no notice, and I had another screen open while I was reading news. Dark Shade said, "What a catastrophe!" earlier. Hard. Yep. And thank you, Big Call, the Driving 8-Man. Good COF today? COF. I know I'm supposed to know what that means, and I'm suddenly blanking. Nothing like segregation to strengthen that diversity. Also, may your Dr. Pepper never go flat. Oh, Curriculum of Fear. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, you mentioned something the other day about having a flat Dr. Pepper, and I thought that was an absolute shame. But yeah, the Curriculum of Fear. That I started looking back at some of the entries in that series after I posted that, and some of the things said just like 2 years ago are still coming true, so to speak, and it's just kind of scary. Let's see, we have a birthday. TM Writer's mom. Does TM Writer's mom have a name? Let us know. While we wait for that, sorry, Satsu, I didn't mean to interrupt, but duty called. Did you have anything else?
Me and Monkey streamed No Man's Sky last night for 6 hours, and
you did?
Yeah,
You did.
Jesus, all right, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we streamed it for 6 hours. I think we might like this game.
Okay.
We might we might be really liking this game. I'm like from what I've played before up until, because even then I did not like it. You know what I mean? I played it and I was like, this game is decent. It's just obviously missing a lot of the core things. There's not a lot of quality of life stuff going on. It's just, it's fine, but it clearly plays like it's supposed to be better.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm just like, this fucking game is amazing. So yeah,
I guess the only thing that in watching you guys play the other night a little bit, the only thing that I saw was missing. It didn't feel like there was. I mean, like I said, like we're talking about, like the environment is sort of the progressive threat, but that doesn't seem nearly as exciting an adversary as like zombies or aliens or something else that you have to sort of prepare for or take into account or something.
Well, yeah, and what ends up happening is your main primary threat ends up being space pirates and shit. Like you get into a lot of random dogfights with other ships.
Mm-hmm.
And the closer to the center of the galaxy you get, the more hostile the planets become. So like a lot of the creatures will start being more hostile now. Like yesterday when we were playing, I went to some place and there was this like weird egg on the ground, and I'm like, oh, what's this thing? And I broke it, and all these fucking crazy crab alien things came out of the ground and started fucking me up. So I had to like hop in my ship and fly off. So it can get to that point, but there's definitely a lot more downtime than other games like it, I guess. But yeah, we played for quite a while last night. And I was not tired. Like, we didn't stop because I was sleepy or we were done. Like, I just was like, okay, this is getting out of hand. And that's why we stopped the stream, or else I could have kept playing well into the morning. So come and check it out if you guys want to. We won't be streaming again until probably Friday. But make sure you follow me on DLive, or you're following my 2 Cents Plus channel if you're interested, because we may do some kind of random out of schedule streams just to play it throughout the day.
All right. TM Writer says, my mom wants to be called Pink Flamingo.
All right.
Monkey.
Okay. Pink Flamingo, we hear it's your birthday, and around here, we do this. And a 1, 9, baby, I love you. And a 2. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Why a pink flamingo, though?
Happy birthday,
dear Pink
Flamingo.
Isn't that kind of redundant? They're already pink.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Pink Flamingo. Hope you had a good one.
Maybe she likes the movies Pink Flamingos, or maybe she has like pink flamingos in her front yard, or maybe she's from Florida and actually has like pink flamingos around.
Yeah, but the point is, those are pink already.
Well, do you know why they're pink?
It's like saying brown black man.
I don't know. Why are they pink, Scribe?
If I remember correctly, it's because they take on the hue of something that they eat. I think it is. Let me see.
Like fish or something.
Yeah, I thought it was something like the The shrimp that they eat or something else.
Crustaceans they eat.
Yeah, that's what it was. The crustaceans they take on their feathers and stuff take on like sort of like the dye of that. Otherwise, I think they're white, or at least very pale naturally. So anyway, shrimp, barbecued shrimp, Creole shrimp, breaded shrimp, shrimp. Monkey, what did you do today?
Oh, I played video games really, really late with Satsu. And then I did a monkey in the morning. And then I went to sleep. And I got up and I fucked around on Twitter.
Uh-huh.
And then I went and had dinner. And then I came here.
Ta-da! It's magic.
It's an exciting life I lead.
Voodoo magic.
I basically streamed for 13 hours last night.
Sorry, what?
Well, counting this show and then
Yes.
doing the game stream with Satsu and then Monkey in the morning, I streamed for about 13 hours.
You know, you might be an addict.
I mean, if I'm just talking and doing the same stuff anyway, why not?
All right. Well then, on to fuckatry time. I'm going to go first. I said a lot of things about a lot of different stuff today, but really the premier thing today, and just full disclosure, I invited Sophane to be on here tonight, but he already had plans. He might be able to come on another night in the near future. But I had a long argument with Sophane on Twitter today. I won't read all of it. I'll just read the relevant first couple of posts that kind of cover most of it. So Sophane first said, the U.S. budget deficit is jumping up 23.1% in 2019 to break the all-time high past $1 trillion, I think it is. During a record high economy. Nice work, fiscal conservatives, TM. You are absolute frauds. A hashtag deficit Don, as in Donald Trump. And then me being a smartass, I came in and said, well, our deficit, I said our debt is everyone's fault. And I put up a graph showing how the national debt has increased under each of the various presidents over the years. And Sophane corrected, says debt does not equal deficit. And I'm like, okay. I said, okay, which president presided over the largest deficit increases so far? And just for reference, that would be Obama. Mm-hmm. Now, I need to make a clarification here. And I can understand why Sophane might have thought this. My saying our debt is everyone's fault was not giving a pass to those fiscal conservatives that didn't actually reduce the debt or the deficit. My take on his initial posting was that he was putting all the blame on those who would call themselves fiscal conservatives, where the fact remains is that our debt has increased under every president. I mean, well, under every president, but most certainly dramatically so ever since Clinton and onward. Bush to Obama, certainly Obama, and Trump. Now, there are various reasons for that. Under Bush, you had, well, not only the tax cut, but you also had the war. And then at the end of Bush's tenure and into Obama's, you had the Great Recession. And Obama spent to get us out of the recession. Now, I'm sure there are plenty of arguments on either side of whether he should have spent as much as he did or needed to spend as much as he did, et cetera. But that's beside the point. The intention, for the most part, was to fix a problem by spending our way out of it. And like I say, argue the merits of that. But our collective national debt and deficit doesn't belong to one fiscal policy or one political party, is all I was trying to say. But Sophane took it as me giving cover to fiscal conservatives, which is not where I was coming from. When I said everybody, in my mind, I was including his comments, but just making sure he wasn't just putting all the blame on one philosophy. That was my way of thinking. Anyway, this went back and forth several times, again, with him interpreting what I was saying as trying to make apologies for Trump or make apologies for hypocritical fiscal conservatives, which is not what I was doing, but that's beside the point. So this went back and forth several times. And so finally, it came down to and this is what I want to talk to Sofan about. So maybe I'm spoiling this for whenever he comes on the show, but it whittled down to this statement from Sofan. Not once did you aim a single criticism at the current administration. Stop being fake, for fuck's sake. We have this amazing economy which would enable any administration to slash the deficit dramatically, and instead we are shooting up. Fiscal conservatism is bullshit. And then I said, so that's all you need to hear? Trump sucks on fiscal policy? Trickle-down economics via giant tax cuts don't work? You're pushing at an open door. But the budget deal increasing spending by $300 billion, the one just signed the other day, is being signed off on by the Democrats as well. The deficit is everyone's fault, including Trump.
Yeah, but it has to be just Trump's fault. It can't be other people too.
Well, but that was going to be the thing I want to ask Sofan at some point. Because that it all whittled down to that is that, like, in my mind, when I said the debt is everyone's fault, I was including Trump's contribution to it. I wasn't giving him cover. I was just saying that the issue of the deficit and the debt is more complicated than a single presidency or a single fiscal policy. But he, and again, I'm not trying to read between the lines of a cookbook here, but he specifically was waiting for me to criticize Trump directly. And I'm very curious to know why that was the one thing he needed from me. Why that specific set of words from me is what was sort of holding him up. Because, like I said, obviously there was some cross wires as to what I thought he was saying versus what he thought I was saying. But that just seemed to be like the crux of it. Because as soon as I said that, it's kind of like, okay, the argument's kind of over with. And I clarified that I said, I think you may be mistaking my cynicism for assent or agreement, as in with what Trump's doing or something, or giving cover. None of the economic geniuses I have been told are geniuses ever seem to have an answer, whichever administration they're under. Greenspan led us to a disaster. Bernanke kept hiking us up the hill. Those are just examples, but I've given up hope on the issue I think is my problem. I just expect the debt to increase. That counter in Times Square pretty much set the standard in my mind from the 90s on, where there's a counter in Times Square that shows how the national debt is increasing by the second or whatever. Now, I will antecedent. I'm not an economist. I don't understand all of the ins and outs and ups and downs of the whole thing. All I know is, as a layman, I see the proof is in the pudding. The deficit has gone up regardless of who's been in office, and more so under some than others. So if you tell me that one philosophy is better than the other on reducing the deficit, I sure as hell I'm not seeing it. So anyway, that was my internet fucketry for the day of any real significance, aside from the fact that George Lazenby is the best Bond.
See, that seems like one of those projection things where, because he's specifically blaming it on one side, when you have a defense to it, that automatically means that you are doing that too. Like you're not saying both. He's like, I'm blaming only Trump. So if you speak out against that, then you have to be only defending Trump. Like that's the only reason why you would oppose me.
Yeah, no, I get that, but let me just in Sofane's defense, taking just his initial comment in isolation, he was saying that the claim of being a fiscal conservative and then causing such events as would increase the national debt, it's calling yourself a fiscal conservative and then taking actions that are anything but conservative is the hypocrisy. That's what he was basically trying to point out, is that the claim of being fiscal conservatives and seeing a 23% rise in the deficit is contradictory to that claim. So in that, I agree with him completely. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Sure.
Oh, but Monkey's an armchair economist, so I'm sure I've just fucked up somehow.
No, you didn't. It's not that you fucked up there. It's that the argument to that is, well, one, the reason that we just saw all of the budget numbers is because Trump and Nancy Pelosi got together to make a deal to keep the government running for the next 2 years. Mm-hmm. So what happens if fiscal conservatives dig their heels in every goddamn time? The government gets shut down and we have to hear about how horrible it is. You have all these people not getting paid and there's dead people dying, and it's all because the government. anytime fiscal conservatives actually try to act fiscally conservative, they're wrong. But then you have shit like this. It's a disingenuous fucking argument. He doesn't believe in fiscal conservatism for him to say that. Okay, you want to say they're hypocrites? Fine. Leave it at that. But you don't get to sit there and then bitch about them not living up to their rhetoric when it's rhetoric you don't even really believe in, and that you would actually slam them for living up to in the first place. Eat me. 2. Politics is about degrees. There is the argument to be made that yes, Trump is spending too much, but he's still spending less than Hillary would have. That's kind of how politics works. Does that mean that makes them as fiscally conservative as they claim when they run for office? Of course not. Am I happy with it? Oh, fuck no. This shit should have been got cleared up a long time ago. You want to talk about, he points out, hey, all of this record economy and stuff, anybody could have brought down the deficit. Anybody? Even the last guy who you guys tell us this economy was gifted to Trump from? Because I don't remember that. So when you're going to sit there and you're going to just call out one side like that, and the part that bugged me is exactly what you just said there, Scribe, is that he needed you to specifically say Trump, even though you said nobody. Or any you used inclusive language. Sorry, I forget exactly the wording you used.
I said we're all at fault or whatever for the deficit.
All at fault.
Yeah. Real quick, thank you, Dark Shade. Quote: "Dead people dying." Unquote. Ranting Monkey, 2019.
This wasn't about him actually giving a shit about hypocrisy or anything. I need people to, because there was even one part where he goes, Trump doesn't have to do anything different because he knows you guys, or you, I think specifically, I forget the exact wording, but basically saying Scribe here, Scribe of all fucking people on this show, just defends Trump all the time, was the implication.
Yeah.
I was like,
that's that mundane Matt shit where it's like we exclusively and only defend one thing and we do it to the death. So all of our opponents do that too.
Now, I know there's times that it has specifically been pointed to this show that wasn't done in this argument with Scribe, but where it was a you people kind of thing directed at Scribe, which is fucking nonsense. And watching that just spiral out of control with what you had said in relation, I was like, what in the actual fuck is going on here?
I will say, and I alluded to this in the chain, like my cynicism, my sort of apathy about the economy, etc., is just like it's so big and outside of my either knowledge or control. Whenever I hear, oh, Republicans going to make a giant tax cut, ever since Bush, it just kind of rolls off me. I don't even really think about it that much because, of course, they are. That's how they supposedly show they're taking a stand against regulation or trying to empower the small businesses and the job creators, blah, 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 blah. And of course, it almost never actually does anything but fuck things up and create more deficit and more debt. If I was thinking about this today, obviously, because this was a big thing on my mind. And Monkey, correct me if I'm wrong, because again, you're more of I know you're not actually an economist, but you know more about this than I do. If we were actually going to reduce the deficit, even to something as pie in the sky as to zero, it would require such a sea change in our society's thinking, our country's thinking, and our society's thinking about how we spend money as a nation. What is important insofar as entitlements versus other spending programs. I don't think it's possible at this stage of the game, with as many things as we have entrenched and as are expected from our government, along with just the size of our nation and the complexity of everything else, that you could get a majority of the country to go along with a notion of what it would actually take to bring our deficit down to Zippo. I don't know if that's a kind of sacrifice the majority of us would be either willing to make, or that any politician would be brave enough to propose without being laughed out of Washington, D.C. for you're never going to get another vote in their life kind of thing.
Well, I mean, if a Democratic candidate wins, and let's just say they go through a good 4 years and it makes no impact on the deficit, what you just said is what the defense is going to be from the Democrats to us when we're like, oh, wow, look at that. 4 years and they didn't do anything to it. And they're going to be like, well, I mean, look at where we are and look how difficult it is. Like, that's going to be their argument then. So it's like, I can't buy any of the bullshit these people be saying, because it's like, you're so fucking full of shit and your argument will change tomorrow as long as it's convenient.
To your point there, Scribe, it could be done. The problem is people either have to give people have to give something up one way or the other. That's the problem.
Yes.
They either have to pay more or get less. And the simple fact of the matter that you wouldn't even have to get all that much less a lot of the times. A lot of what money's tied up in is nonsense bureaucracy. And but yeah, because on the conservative side, you have, we're not paying more in taxes, and on the other side, like, well, we're not giving up any entitlements. In fact, we need more. No, it's not going to change anytime soon. I think that pass with the 90s was as close as we were going to get, and then oh man, the just absolute expansion of government from Bush through Obama was just a mind-numbing blur of how much money we started spending. And a lot of people like to blame it on the war. It's not the war. There was a lot of money that went out that way, but that's not where it's counted. If you look at our actual fucking budget, just compared to Clinton, and we're not even talking that long ago, 2 decades?
Yeah.
2 decades ago, we've more than doubled our budget. Not just the budget. It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. And can we fix it? No, not right now. This is how it is from now on.
All right. Well, anyway,
higher taxes. That's the answer.
Sorry to have eaten up so much of the time, guys. I just wanted to get that out of the way. Hopefully, I do hope to have Sofan on at some point and we can chat. But Satsu, any fucketry?
Shit, if I do have any, I damn sure don't remember it. I don't like. I really, honestly, don't think I've gotten on Twitter at all today, because I woke up at almost 2, because we were up until about 5:30.
Yeah.
There was a whole bunch of replies to Brother Bear, and he got really upset.
Yeah.
He got really annoyed. Like, he did like Jesus Christ, never have I been so attacked for making such a mundane tweet. And his response, if you guys saw, his response to everybody was, just Google it. Go Google it and you'll know what I'm talking about. Google it. It's not that hard to use Google to prove the point that he was trying to make, that a good majority, like a pretty decent chunk of people who are here illegally are on visa or expired visa. And I'm just like, what? That doesn't make any sense. That the point that you're trying to make doesn't make any sense because of the shit that's going on at the border. If your point was that valid, then there wouldn't be any issues at the border right now.
Real quick, thank you, Sanguine. So that you aren't punished for YouTube's spedness and censorship, here is a tenor without the message I wanted to send, because a message with 0 curse words or anything must be censored, it seems. Are they censoring Super Chat? Is this something I should have already known?
I guess so.
Oh yeah, they've been censoring it for a while.
Have they? Okay, that sucks. Well, thank you so much, Sanguine. I appreciate it. Even if you can't curse, you can allude. You can allude to curse words. That's Snubbirth's new notion, illusion. Anyway, sorry, Satsu.
I forgot what I was saying, but yeah, that's it.
Oh, sorry about that. Monkey, what do you got?
Sorry. This is I'm waiting for Twitter to open up thing, because I wasn't expecting it to be my turn yet.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. I expected Satsu to have something. There we go. Let's see. This is actually one. It's just kind of silly because it just happened, or I just saw it while we were actually on air. Matt Zapatowski from the Washington Post, he quote tweeted Trump, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, the president is referring to this story, and he links his story. And it's weird because the Trump quote or the tweet that Matt here is saying refers to this story is in that story.
Okay.
I don't understand. Anyhow, that's not big fucketry. It's just something that's breaking my brain a little bit because it makes it sound like Trump has a time machine. Somehow he's referring in a tweet to a story that contains that tweet. And I went and looked. There's no update to the story. It's not like they've added that since. So yeah. The Jessica Yavin thing. That's Jonathan Yavin, I think is the other name it goes by. I've tried so hard to stay out of this just watching it from afar because you got to be careful, guys. You get into an argument with this Yavin crazy. This is the one who wanted their balls waxed. Be careful what you say to them because they are, I'm using air quotes, trans. I'm with Blair on this one. I don't believe this person's trans at all. But if you argue with them on Twitter and you say the wrong word, Twitter is going to take their side. They are, and you will get kicked off the platform for it. So be careful arguing with them. But responding to someone, this is what old Jessica said. You started arguing with me about things you know nothing about. So let me put it this way. I'm female. I'm a woman. I am not a man. So I'm entitled to every service a female is entitled to, and any such refusal is a violation of British Columbia, blah, 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 and Canada laws. Going in demand a pap smear then. Let me see what happens with your pap smear. Because women are entitled to that. Go do it. I want to see what happens. This is nonsense.
I genuinely would like to see what would happen.
So would I.
If the doctor would get in trouble.
They would absolutely be, because of the way that this is what that was argued about in the changing of the equal opportunity. I forget what it's called over up there in Canada. It would basically be our equal opportunity laws, where they added in gender expression, because now it literally doesn't matter what reality is. If you go in there and tell them you want a pap smear, well, you're a woman. Every woman can have one. So what are they going to tell you?
That is fascinating.
What are you going to do? It's physically impossible for me to treat you like a woman. Ooh, hoo, hoo. You can't do that. Let's see, what else did we have? I think those might be the only two I had today. I wasn't on here very much. There was a story I read today that I want to bring up to people. This one comes from the New Yorker. A Harvard professor got caught up in a paternity trap with some weird bitch. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because it's very familiar to what happened with Andy, what's his nuts from Screen Junkies.
Oh, Signor or whatever.
Yeah. This guy, he's had his name just dragged, and when you actually dig into what happened to him, some woman runs into him in the middle of the streets and just starts hitting on him. And him being the weird beta male that he is, wasn't used to that kind of treatment. So they start talking and hook up eventually, even though he's living with his ex-wife at the time, because they've decided to have a mutually exclusive divorce. It's a weird situation. You have to read I'll throw the link in chat for anybody. It's a long read, but it's really interesting what happened to this guy. But the scary part of it is at the end of it, he's been trying to figure out why this woman would do all this shit. Because her and her friend who've been doing this have done it to at least 3 other guys. And in this case, they actually stole his house for a while. Stole his fucking house. When him and his wife ex-wife were out of town for a little while, they had moving trucks come and take all of their shit out of the house and move all of hers in. It's crazy bitch. What? The guy's name is Hay. It says Hay remains mystified about what the women really wanted from him. Money appears to be a factor, but not necessarily the only one. After all, theirs was a long, expensive, and punitive game with no guarantee of big payoff. He's still fighting for his job. He's been put on suspension from Harvard under Title IX because the bitch filed sexual harassment claims against him. And so anyway, in May 2018, Hay received a barrage of text messages from an unknown number. Quote, I'll find a way to connect if you want a chance, or find a way to connect if you want to take the last exit before hell. Take my word, you ain't seen nothing yet, I promise. Oh, and as to your quest for motives, don't bother. I just really hate the patriarchy. That's all.
Okay.
And from the stories that they tell about this one, there's no reason for it. You know, it's not like she's trying to trap a rich man. She seems to be just hitting on guys who are in some way related to a college. There's a couple of, one was a college student. One was a medical student in another college. And then this guy's was a teacher at Harvard. So there seems to be no, she's not going for like big money here. It's just like, what is the problem? And yeah, and so he gets these suddenly starts getting these random things that if you read the rest of the story, there's some in that last line I read to you, there's some like, oh, it was probably her saying that, because who else would know to say those things? But yeah, it's a very interesting story. And if you're not MGTOW already, guys, there's a nice kick in the door for you if you'd like one, because holy crap, the chick is insane. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had from the internet in the world of fucketry today.
Scribe. Did we lose Scribe?
Did we lose Scribbles? Oh, okay. So with that, guys, I'm going to move on to your turn time. Questions, comments, concerns, throw them into the chat now. We will do our very best to answer them all. Remember to throw a lot of those chat marks behind it if you have questions for us. So that bitch is level 100 crazy. Oh, read the story, man. It is just psycho. Most unforgivable food sin. If you're talking about like mixing foods and stuff, I'm probably the wrong person to talk to with that. To me, it would be something like fish tacos, because that just doesn't sound like it goes together.
I don't know. Hot sauce and ice cream.
All right, Hillary. If we should take down Thomas Jefferson because he owned slaves, should we take down MLK Jr. statue because he owned slaves? What? MLK didn't own slaves?
Hello.
How you doing?
My internet fell out. Yeah. Okay. Did you have anything else, Monkey? Because we're into chat time.
I'd already moved us on to chat time when we realized you weren't here.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. My power flickered, and all of a sudden I was disconnected for a couple minutes. Hopefully that doesn't happen again.
The last question I asked was the one from Toasted Network about taking down MLK Jr. statues because he owned slaves.
I'll have to refresh my windows here. Sorry, guys.
You going to get the next one? Are you waiting?
No, I'm fine. Let's see.
Fine.
So, Mata Winter, Lord of the Night. How is Monk's Boris Johnson?
It's Prime Minister, thanks.
Chicago Mike, favorite Bond girl. Let's see. Plenty O'Toole. Plenty O'Toole.
I don't
You
know
guys
what her
have a favorite
name
Bond girl?
was in the series, but my favorite Bond girl, she only had a bit part, but she does count, is Stana Katic, however you say her name. The chick who eventually went on to play in Castle.
I have no idea.
She had a very, very small role in one of the Daniel Craig movies. Because when I saw she was a Bond girl, I was like, what? How the fuck did I miss that? And then I was like, oh, she played like some little Russian chica.
Oh.
But I just have a thing for her, so.
I assume you don't have one, Satsu.
Of course not.
Of course not. Jack Gunsky will be doing a thing and stuff. Whatever. Let's see. Quinn the Cultist, Lords of the Night. If you had a zombie army and could control it and raise more, what would you do with it? A zombie army?
Never trust it.
Nothing.
That'll be the first thing I'd do.
I'm not a violent person, I guess. I'd probably put them to work like building things for people, I guess, like building pyramids or some other like ridiculously dangerous physical labor to prevent other people from getting hurt and take jobs away from real Americans. Something, I don't know. Or maybe like send them off into the desert to start like agriculture or something, because that wouldn't harm real people. Let's see. Mr. Monopoly of Gulf City. Scribe, why did that umbrella guy and his family get doxxed by Ren Famous? I have no idea who any of those people are, so I couldn't tell you.
That umbrella guy is one of the comic skaters, and Ren Famous is a dirty, nasty cunt who's basically the Zoe Quinn of the world. Oh. Except for she didn't fuck anybody. She's just made a name for herself as what's the word I'm looking for here? A Twitter troll in the whole movement. So why did she do it? Because she's a cunt.
RJ Bansma, should the RCMP get involved with Jessica Yaniv? I don't know. I mean, like I say, watch Blair's video. There's a lot that is either alleged or otherwise there. I don't know if any crimes have been committed, for sure. So I don't want to quite get into that because of the risks, as Monkey mentioned before. Mr. Monopoly of Gold City Scribe Light. Wasn't Woody Allen also James Bond? No, he wasn't James Bond. He was in Casino Royale. David Niven played James Bond, but he was in Casino Royale. Toasted Network. If we should take down Thomas Jefferson statues because he owned slaves, should we take down LK Jr. because he was homophobic? I wouldn't take down statues of anybody, honestly. I think it's all a waste of time. But if you're going to be that sort of puritanical or thought cleansing, then maybe it's justified, I suppose, from that way of thinking, but not mine.
I think even in that case, you are stretching a lot.
Yeah. Milkman Dan, desert people aren't real people. Scribe 2019. What? When did I say desert people aren't real people?
You know what you said.
I said sending zombies into the desert to grow stuff to avoid. I'm confused.
Own it, Scribe.
I was saying zombies aren't real people, not the desert people. I don't know. Anyway, Eric Peters, Scribelight, have you ever shot pew-pews like Colion Noir? I don't even know what that means. I'm just a boomer, I guess.
No clue.
Let's see. Mr. Monopoly of Gulf City. Casino Royale was a James Bond parody movie, Scribelight. It may have been, but it was still a James Bond movie. It had James Bond. It was called Casino Royale. One of Ian Fleming's novels is called Casino Royale. So, don't know what to tell you. It's not considered part of the Broccoli family canon franchise, I suppose, but it's still a James Bond movie. Motto Winter, why Scribe have no cheese? Because I only like Gouda, and I don't have any right now, I guess. I don't know. Quinn the Cultist, if you were the head of the mafia, what business would you control? I wouldn't control businesses. I would just skim from all of them. See? Provide protection. See? Nah, see? Nah. RJ Vans, describe my favorite car James Bond had. Aston Martin from Goldfinger. With the ejection seat and everything. Best one. Bluntly Blondie, Colion Noir is a black gun rights activist. I'll take your word for it. Never heard of him. Toast Network, Scribe, do you believe climate change is real, and is it going to have a major consequences? I do believe it is, in the sense that, like, CFCs and everything else weaken the ozone, and greenhouse gases and such can warm the Earth? Certainly. Is it going to have consequences? Yes. Will it have as major consequences as have been reiterated to us over and over again for the last 30, 40 years? Well, supposedly the ice caps are already supposed to have melted, and it should have been Waterworld already. So I don't know. Non-Vitae Rex, favorite Bond villain, doomsday weapon, or scheme? Oh, it's got to be Goldfinger trying to nuke Fort Knox. Probably. I don't know. You guys got one?
To be honest, most of the Bond things just kind of run together for me. Those are watch and forget movies for me.
Yeah, Goldfinger nuking Fort Knox and Max Zorin trying to flood Silicon Valley. Those are two completely different ends of the time frame spectrum for those movies, but just over the top. I'm going to corner the market on X. Super duper, not trying to take over the world, just trying to become king of a particular commodity, which is always the craziest fucking villain thing to do. So, RJ Bands of Scribe Light, what would you do as James Bond? Lay every woman I had an opportunity with. That's pretty much it. And probably have every venereal disease under the sun inside of a week, but hey, it's James Bond. What are you going to do? He's invincible. Massive Dynamics. I'm enjoying the Let's Play of No Man's Sky. The Whispering Eggs are worth a huge amount of credits. Use the building to avoid the creatures. I guess you guys will know what that means.
I'll keep that in mind.
Data Wasteland. Scribe, very glad you have a job. Your idea on cornering the pyramid market with an army of free labor? Yeah, I was trying to think, if I had an army of zombies, I wouldn't want to hurt anybody, but if I had tireless, laborers that didn't need to eat, didn't need to sleep, and I could command them to do anything, I'd make them do something productive. Whatever that would be, I don't know. RG Bands with Scribe, ever watched a Let's Play of LA Noire? It's a fun game. I tried playing LA Noire, and I've watched a couple of minor bits and pieces playthroughs. I don't know, maybe I've been ruined by the games of today, but I just couldn't quite grok into the sort of slow, methodical, trying to read fake faces kind of thing, detective work. I think I'm not cut out for actual law enforcement, so... It is an interesting game, and at the time, the facial animations and scanning and everything are amazing. Let's see. Mr. Monopoly, Scribelight, when will Marvel stop making terrible woke MCU films? Well, they haven't actually made them yet. I mean, most of the ones that we've had, save for maybe Captain Marvel, was sort of stepping into that territory, but I guess we'll see. The guy who made Thor Ragnarok, it's entirely possible that he could find a very entertaining and not annoying way to bring Lady Thor into the mix. I'm not sold on Natalie Portman being able to pull it off with her acting skills, but hey, stranger things have happened. Let's see. Prospero says, did he just say grok? Yeah, I use that word from time to time. Understand, quantify, within my wheelhouse kind of thing. Devil Fruit Zero, is PG-13 Blade without snipes or the director a deal breaker? No. I think it'll be there are ways you can make a horror movie that is not R and doesn't require a lot of gore. It's not impossible. I imagine the vampires will die in ash and fire and something. Although when you're talking about a vampire movie, when you're talking about Blade specifically, because, I don't know what the comic books are like these days, but back in the olden days when Blade was first around, they didn't really hold back on the violence that was horror comics. There was a segment of Marvel Comics that were sort of set aside for weird horror, and they sort of rode that line of imagery and otherwise that was horrific. Ghost Rider, even a lot of Doctor Strange, Blade, what else? I'm thinking of Dracula. are a whole bunch of horror series in Marvel that they don't talk about that much anymore. So it's possible they could make a horror movie that's PG-13 and still a good Blade movie. I think Marvel will be well advised to let the reins loose a little bit on some of these characters, because if you had an R-rated Blade and an R-rated Ghost Rider and an R-rated Moon Knight and set those aside and made sure people understood, parents and otherwise, that these are kind of a subset of the Marvel movies and sort of made for more mature audiences, you could have a really good market. Like I say, Deadpool made a ton of money. You treat a character appropriately, you can make a ton of money. Thank you, Sanguine. Pyramids are nice, but Scribe, you should rent your zombie horde out as migrant pickers for farms. Do you really want like rotted, fleshy hands touching your fruit and vegetables? I don't think so. Chicago Mike, how about another Fantastic Four movie? Well, that's in the works, or at least in the planning stages. Probably Phase 5, more likely than not, along with Blade. James Colley, Scribelight, Unworthy Thor is the series where and how Natalie Portman's character became Thor. Not the worst plot, but yeah, I don't know how they're going to work it into the movie. They're obviously going to make some kind of crazy weirdness about it, because they made a big deal of Thor still being worthy of holding Mjolnir at the end of Endgame. So how they decide within a movie that he loses that again, or more importantly, I guess, how suddenly Jane Foster, of all characters that we haven't actually seen in years, is suddenly worthy. That's their biggest hurdle with trying to make the movie work, is making that make some kind of sense without just handing it to her gratis,
I hope they don't pull some, her enduring what women had to deal with all this time is worthy enough, or some shit like that. Yeah. I don't know. Well, if I talk too much about this topic, it'll like reveal the contents of my video. So just watch my video tomorrow. You guys will hear what I think about it.
Jarl Falstaff, why answer my question, Scribe? That is the absolute last thing you want to ask in a moving chat. Just restate your question. Because I don't know where you were on the chat. I could be scrolling up forever. So just restate the question. I'm not necessarily intentionally skipping over questions. It's just that things keep moving. So got to take them as I see them. Okay, Rick, Skylight, why don't you just put rubber gloves on them? On the zombies? That's a lot of rubber gloves that I want to pay for. If I've got a zombie army, I'm thinking like a couple of legions worth. So I'm not going to pay for it. Besides that, they'll fall off, or maybe their hands aren't completely intact, and I don't want to leave a bunch of litter all over the place. Jack Gunsky says, Scribe Light, why didn't you? Oh, never mind. Y'all Falstaff, mead, stout, or other oat sodas?
I'm sorry, oat soda?
I think he's talking about like beers and such. I don't drink mead or stout or beer or any oat sodas. I can't remember the last time I had beer. So none. You guys like beer?
No.
Not that much.
Okay. Now it says, everybody, why didn't you answer my question? Why didn't you answer my question? Because I don't like you. There, I said it. Now you know. And knowing is a continually disappointing revelation.
I bet you feel better now, don't you?
I know. Jack Unsey says, Ranting Monkey, did you know that your boy Pat and Skeptalk will be playing Quiplash and other games on my, as in Jack Gunsky's channel, after the stream?
I know now.
And knowing is half the battle.
It's half the battle.
G.I. Joe.
Which means you still have half a chance of losing, by the way.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like, I know touching that stove is hot, but I'm going to anyway. No.
That's okay. Knowing was half that battle.
Knowing was half that battle. And I got the scars to prove it. Let's see. Ebony Williams, hot dogs or corn dogs?
Oh, depends on my mood.
Yeah, I guess availability, too. I don't usually seek out a corn dog. If I'm somewhere and they have them, I might have one. But Satsu, do you have a preference? Just regular hot dogs or corn dogs?
Overall, probably corn dogs, but
Hmm.
once again, it's a timing and preference thing.
Mr. Monopoly of Gold City, should there be a movie based on the on the Deadpool as Thor comic? If they bring Ryan Reynolds into the MCU, and they would be nuts not to, honestly, I'm sure he will send up everything available in the Marvel library at that point, because it was a running gag in the other two Deadpool movies of, here's how many X-Men we could afford, right?
Right.
If there's a Deadpool movie that takes place in the MCU with Ryan Reynolds, every possible reference, connection, anything he can fit in there, as many cameos, etc., will occur in there, and a joke will be made about some kind of merger of universes or something, or corporate dollars. It'll be hilarious. Dom O'Leary, why didn't you answer my question? Because I don't drink beer. Let's see. Quinn the Cold, Scribe, did you know that blue fire is cold? No, I didn't know that. Although the gas company says otherwise. So, Harvest Marvels, did you see that Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness will be the first legit MCU horror movie? I'll believe it when I see it. There's a whole bunch of implications, like I said the other night, with the multiverse of madness. That implies a whole lot of Lovecraftian, who knows, kind of horrors and abstractions and things. When they say legit horror movie, it all depends on the execution. If they go full gothic, creepy, whatever with Doctor Strange, I'm more than happy for it, because I think the twisted, darker horror side of Marvel is something they really should think about exploring with Ghost Rider, Blade, Moon Knight, Doctor Strange. God, I was only half upset they brought the Darkhold into the universe through Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. At least they went down that path a little bit, which was nice. And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. got dark there in season 4 or whatever. But one of my favorite non-mainstream Marvel comic books from the 90s was Darkhold, pages from the Book of Sins, or Book of Sin. And the very first issue was one of the most creepy, disturbing things I'd read out of just a regular Marvel comic. This evil little dwarf, he's just called the Evil Dwarf, goes around, hands out these pages of this evil book to people, and they read them, and then crazy things happen. And the first one was this guy became a living, immortal mass of worms. It was the most disgusting, disturbing thing. It was a great horror comic book. And it's unfortunate that series didn't continue with the same quality as the first issue. But I always wanted that to turn into like a TV series, and only in a very, very limited way did that happen with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But anyway, I could go on. Let's see. Chicago Mike, favorite Beatles song? Oh, God, I don't know.
Maxwell Silverhammer.
Yeah, that's Satsu's favorite Beatles song.
Not sure that I have one.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Well, there was one when I was in German class in high school. We heard the German version of "I Love You, yeah, yeah." That song. Of course, it goes "Ich lieb dich, ja, ja, ja. Ich lieb dich, ja, ja, ja." I don't know if this was my favorite song. It's the first one that came to mind because it's the first time I'd heard a song I knew in a different language like that from the actual band. So. Scribe, when will El Presidente make another Tropico 6 video, because his first one was awesome? I don't know. El Presidente monkey, what are you going to do in your Banana Republic?
Oh, God, I'm not sure.
Dom O'Leary, Scribe, guys, if you could be transformed into a cartoon for the day, which cartoon would you be in? Why, and what would you want to do? Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Jessica Rabbit.
Transformed into a cartoon.
Yeah.
I'd want to go into Chippendale Rescue Rangers and Bang Gadget.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
Inspect her gadget. Oh, sorry.
Trump's in trouble again.
Oh, is it a day that ends in Y? What did he do this time?
Trump falsely claims that Article 2 of the Constitution gives him the right to do whatever he wants in front of a crowd of teens.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, I'll need a quote for that one. Let's see. Data Wasteland. Scribe, did you know Satsu has space madness? He caught it from a sloppy Joe he dropped on the floor and ate. You have space madness from Ren and Stimpy?
Sure.
So you're gonna eat the soap as an ice cream bar?
Absolutely.
You're gonna push the shiny candy-like red button?
There's a video. Apparently the quote says, "Then I have in Article 2 where I have the right to do what I want as president."
Okay. I look forward to him trying to wield that power from Article 2.
I would need to see the whole.
Yeah, the whole thing. There's a video here. I don't know if it's edited.
I'm not willing to disbelieve that he said it because he said some pretty stupid things, but all the same, even if he did say it, good luck trying to try it. Let's see. No one nowhere. Scribe Light Ranting Monkey. Did you see Three-Sided Coins comment a little earlier? Okay. Sort of like asking us, why didn't you answer my question? Like, why didn't you read this comment? Like, what comment? I don't know. Obviously not. If we didn't read it, we didn't see it. Let's see. Mr. Monopoly of Sculpt City. Do you have cat scratch fever? No. Actually, there was somebody years ago in my school district who got cat scratch fever and died. Because you can die from that shit, depending on your immune system and things. And that was not anybody I knew directly. It just like it was one of those things where you hear about in the school district, like this kid got scratched by a cat and it got infected and they died. Like
Aaron Blake says Trump's comments today about Article 2 of the Constitution giving him the right to do whatever he wants are starting to make the rounds. He was talking about it in the context of the Mueller probe, which he has already done multiple times.
Oh. So what? Not being a constitutional historian, somebody's have to remind me in what way he was talking about Article 2 in relation to that. I don't know.
Fuck.
Executive power, I think, is what he was referring to.
What he's talking about is the fact that he could have fired Mueller if he wanted to.
Oh, well, he could have,
Yes,
but he didn't. Yeah. He could have, yeah. So.
For fuck's sake, are you?
That is so old. That is an old, yeah, okay. Anyway, Minions of the Zoo, Scribe Light, what are your favorite foods? My favorite foods. Well, honestly, there's this dish that my mother made when I was growing up. It was called, depending, it was either chicken or turkey divan. It all depends on what she had available. And basically what it is, it's you take a baking pan and you put in a layer of pulled apart like chicken or turkey. You put on top of that a layer of it's a cream of mushroom sort of mayonnaise white sauce deal she put together, and then on top of that, it's the chicken, and then a layer of broccoli. What do they call them? You know, the little broccoli trees, they're not blossoms. Not blossoms. I'm suddenly forgetting the word.
Fuck.
Anyway, you know what I mean.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Broccoli deals, and then the white sauce, and then on top. Sorry, what?
I can't remember.
No, anyway. So chicken, broccoli, the white sauce, and then shredded cheddar cheese, and then you bake that for like half an hour, 35 minutes or something, and then you serve that on top of sticky white rice. Oh, it is the yummiest comfort food in the world. It's so yummy. I love it. And so I guess that's probably my favorite food. Aside from that, a good prime rib, mashed potatoes, and a chocolate eclair for dessert. There's a story behind the whole prime rib, mashed potatoes, chocolate eclair thing, but I'll tell that another time. Florets, says El Vaquero 555. Yes, florets. And so does Prospero, and so does Minions of the Zoo, so does Roger Reynolds. Thank you guys, florets. We got a minute to go, so if there was something else to be said, Prospero says, Jesus, these idiots don't understand the separation of powers at all. It's so tedious. Yeah.
Well, the way he said it, I wonder if he does that shit on purpose. I really do. I have to.
Yeah, just to tick people off or get a reaction. He wouldn't do that though. He's not. He's totally above that kind of stuff. Guys, by the time I finish this, will be at the top of the hour and the end of the show. Everybody, thank you for joining us tonight, as you do every night. Really do appreciate it. All the visitors from Sinatra's realm of the universe, thank you so much for joining us. Really do appreciate the your kind attention. Remember, guys, tomorrow night, per usual, will be on Monkey's channel at the regular time. And let's see. Oh, yeah, and if you really, really want to, I guess, you can go over to Jack Gunsky's channel after this and go watch Moonshock and your boy Pat play Quiplash, I guess, if you want to. I don't know. Anything else, guys? I always ask this. You're not gaming tonight, but is one of you maybe streaming tonight?
I'm not.
Of course I will eventually.
Okay. Well, keep an eye on Monkey's channel, guys. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, all three of us. You'll find out a lot quicker on there about what's going on with shows or things than just sort of hoping that YouTube will alert you. All the same, if you are subscribed to our channels, also be sure to hit that bell icon so that you do get conceivably the notifications, hopefully, when they do happen. It does help. And other than that, I think that's all. So yeah, everybody, thank you for joining us. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though our audience is the best behaved in the world. Everybody who donated, thank you so much. Your generosity will go towards Goldfish and Dr. Pepper. Not flat Dr. Pepper, and I still mourn for you, Pinkalo, but it's one of those things. Satsu, Monkey, thank you for joining me as always.
Mm.
Everyone, your lives make us sad, and we will see you tomorrow.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
And per strange tradition, I'm again reading out of Screw the Roses, Send Me the Thorns, the Romance and Sexual Sorcery of Sadomasochism, random page. And today's secret word, today's secret word is tease. As in, I'm teasing you with the notion that there's something more interesting.